Imagine being cursed to play an evil game that forces you to take harsh decisions and makes you watch your loved ones die brutally. What would you do? Would you be a bystander in your own misery, or will you try to beat this AI gone bad? In today's video, we break down choose or die and tell you what you should and shouldn't do to survive it, just in case the game gets you. First things first, please don't be playing with junk from the past. It's happened way too many times now. Some dummies come across random junk from an unknown friend who we never get to go see, gets curious and starts messing around with it until things take a turn for the worse. It's like a theme in every horror thriller flick now, but it choose or die, Death Note, Annabelle, The Ring, The Evil Dead, and like a zillion other such films, they never learn. Seriously, have you not heard the phrase, curiosity killed the cat? The whole thing could have been avoided if Isaac and Kayla minded their business. And if you do happen to be a curious bird, how about getting the hint? A video game from decades ago and a pile of junk that reads, last 5 days and lift the curse, along with a hefty prize money sounds pretty legit, huh? We mean, yeah, who doesn't need $125,000? In this recession, so understandably, Kayla and Isaac got greedy. Despite the whole thing looking dodgy AF, honestly, when you're being offered money for something that seems too good to be true, it's probably because it is. Put it down and walk away. But Kayla decides to check out the game at a cafe later that night in a gloomy setting with no one around her, just a poor waitress on whom she will unknowingly unleash the curse. The game begins by first asking her if she'd like coffee or cake. And guess what? Those are the only two items on the cafe's menu. Okay, maybe a coincidence, but it's beginning to get creepy. Kayla decides to pick coffee, and suddenly a waitress appears, filling her cup to the brim, and it starts to freak the girl out. She looks back at the menu and boom, it's back to normal. Now, anyone in their right mind, no matter how logical they are, will know that they need to get the heck away from that thing and run in the opposite direction when something of this sort happens. A game knows your surroundings. It's showing you that it's evil. Why aren't you stopping there? Shut it down, burn it, bury it, get rid of it. But Kayla decides to continue despite figuring out that this thing is messed up, which eventually kills the poor waitress who ends up eating glass. One down, 4 more levels to go. While CURSR is evil, it does kind of help you get through it too. If you unfortunately gone deeper thanks to your greed, what you have to do next is pay attention. The game is giving you clues while you're at it. For example, have a look at those borders on the command screen. In the first level Kayla plays, they're filled with what appears to be glass, and the next thing you see is the waitress breaking glass and eating it. This is an incredibly important piece of information that the game shows you before it even challenges you to the next task. We also see stuffed animals appear again in round 3, and then we see Kayla's dead brother show up. What you can do is use these images to better understand what you'll be forced to do next. Although at this point, CURSR is very powerful, at least you'll know what's coming and will be somewhat prepared for it. Also, you can confuse the game's AI. The game is super slick, so be smarter and stay one step ahead. First, we have hidden all the glass objects in the cafe to reduce potential risk. We also see that when Kayla tries to help the waitress, another person jumps in front of her, trying to stop her while glitching. Now this is super important because it goes to show that the game is outdated and it's entirely possible to make a glitch to buy time. So what we do here is make vague choices to confuse it. How about typing a combination of different choices it gives you, or making unpredictable movements to confuse the surroundings? Remember, fear is your worst enemy. It stops you from thinking straight and makes you act on impulse. That's exactly what CURSR exploits. You can also confuse it with several random objects around you which aren't even real. For example, in the very first scene of the film, you see a man who's given the choice by CURSR between his tongue or his ears. He chooses his tongue, followed by a scene with his son cutting off his tongue. If it were us, we'd play around with the surroundings a bit to see how this game was interpreting it and how the two realities were overlapping. And since we know that it's old, it's obvious that there are limitations to its technology that we can use in our favor. We'd attempt to crash it by overloading it with confusing information that it can't understand. Did you know that even modern AI struggles with this? Apparently, a Tesla is going to read any stop, even when it's not related to traffic, to actually stop the car, because it doesn't understand the difference between a real sign and just another stop typed somewhere. Putting this theory to the test, we'd place a lot of fake ears and tongues around us to confuse the computer about which one's the real organ. With an overload of information, it'll cause the game to crash. Honestly, we're surprised Kayla doesn't come up with this plan, because she knows how to code. She is a total nerd. We see how she designs an emulator for very old software, and she knows how to code as well. So it's very likely that she's a gamer too. We assume Kayla would totally know about glitching. It's a technique where you exploit a bug in the game, and the best example of it is Zork, a text-based game very similar to CURSR, and it takes you through an adventure where your decisions would affect the final outcome. But a glitch lets players enter a secret room that helps them steal weapons and make decisions that Zork otherwise doesn't give an option for. It's likely that CURSR 2 has more options, and you just need to figure out its bugs. And since you have so much time before the next level begins, how about writing a program to decode it? There's so much Kayla could have done, honestly. Also, please stay away from all kinds of screens after 12 a.m. We see that Kayla, while at work, soon finds herself at level 2 again at exactly 2 a.m. But this time, the target is her own mother, featuring a giant rat. Okay, that escalated quickly. Thankfully, her mom survives, despite Kayla giving her some pretty questionable escape advice, so we can't help but wonder, why is she always around the screens at 2 a.m.? Like, sis, go to sleep. Avoid them. Don't be around them. Run as far away from them as you possibly can. She just doesn't get the hint, and she decides to go hang out with Isaac the very next day at the exact same time, around a ton of computer screens, which also ends up killing him. We'd definitely be sound asleep by 2 in the morning. Throw away all your screens, yes, even your phone, and live like a total caveman until we figure this thing out, because we really don't want to torture people around us. Whatever you do, don't be stupid. We think Kayla isn't even taking it as seriously. She's having a food fight with Isaac a day after her mom has nearly eaten a giant rat, and she also follows her dead brother's voice after entering the red door on level 3. For starters, you know it's a game, and nothing is real, right? Why even go after random sounds and images? It's playing tricks on you and you're happily getting played? Do better, Kayla. And lastly, keep friends and family away at all costs. If you know you're playing a deadly game that can seriously hurt people around you, you might want to stay away from your family. Kayla should have known better after playing the first level, but she decides to go hang out with her mom, and later her friend Isaac. And while the next level unleashes the curse on her mom, and later it goes after Isaac. What anyone in the right mind, if there's any left that is, would do is stay far away from friends and family. CURSR uses people around you to progress. So how about using people you hate or maybe hardened criminals to play? Now, we're not suggesting that you go around offing people who you're not a fan of, but what choice do you have anyway? It's either your family or foes. So we assume you'd rather go for the latter. Kayla wins in the end, but at what cost? She puts an end to the game, but there are lives lost in the process that could have totally been avoided had she been smarter with her choices. But let's not blame her. It's not like she saw it coming, but you did. And now that we've cracked the code for you, what would you have done differently if you were stuck in choose or die? Comment below and let us know. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. See you in the next one.